Hello and welcome tonight, today, or whenever you're listening to the Mackenzie Files. We're analyzing the first presidential debate between Trump and Biden and wondering what went wrong. I want to get into the elephant in the room. I think we all know what I'm talking about, and you're thinking of it too. The interruptions. The interruptions came from both Trump and Biden, but according to multiple counters, Trump interrupted Biden significantly more than Biden to Trump. According to a Slate article written by Jeremy Stahl and published on September 30th, Trump interrupted both Biden and moderator Chris Wallace at least, Stahl said, a total of 128 times. In a Washington Post analysis written by Aaron Blake and also published on September 30th, Blake counted Trump interrupting Biden or Wallace 71 times, but his criteria was more narrow. Whenever a candidate cut in after Wallace had explicitly given the floor to his opponent, or when the candidate interjected before Wallace finished asking his question. These numbers don't include what happened after the initial interruptions, in which the candidates repeatedly cut each other off and talked over one another, he said about his rules. Biden, under Blake's criteria, was only counted interrupted 21 times. Whatever the criteria was for counting interruptions, both articles agree that Trump interrupted the debate more times than Biden or Wallace. Well, we might have to put me, unfortunately, on the interrupting counter once too, but what I'm about to say is actually going to help you out. Squarespace is the absolute easiest way to make your website. I've used them for a few different sites. I really didn't have the time or need to create a fancy website, so I just spent about 15 minutes to throw together a landing page. It was incredibly easy with the Squarespace template, and in my opinion at least, it looks great. Now I can give people one link that takes them to a page with a link to all my different social media profiles. You can really create a website for your upcoming podcast, a blog, a store, really anything with Squarespace. And what's best is that you can get 10% off your first order by using the code Mackenzie over at squarespace.com/Mackenzie. This also helps you help the podcast. So please do go check out Squarespace at squarespace.com/Mackenzie. Thanks for our wonderful sponsors. With interruptions being one part of what went wrong in the debate, we have to take a gander at the validity of the claims both candidates were making. Now, there are a number of organizations that fact-check, two most prominent being Snopes and PolitiFact. Taking a look at PolitiFact's then live coverage of the debate, we can see numerous claims from both sides that were false, and many claims that just needed more context outside of the debate. When Biden said, "We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before," that was given a rating of mostly false on PolitiFact. This is mostly false because of the trade deficit was smaller under Trump last year than the final 3 years of the Obama administration. But only looking at goods, PolitiFact found the trade deficit was generally higher under Trump than under Obama, despite the decline in 2019. Coming from Trump, he said, "I'm getting insulin so cheap it's like water." The rating was mostly false. The scope of Trump's executive order for insulin was limited, PolitiFact said. It targeted fewer than 2% of healthcare provider representatives for insulin. Insulin prices for seniors rose between 2017 and 2018. Overall, Trump used statements that had falsehoods or exaggerations 17 times out of the facts checked by PolitiFact, while Biden's claims mostly needed context and evidence to be further understood. It is also important to note that Trump was mostly fact-checked throughout this live coverage of the debate from PolitiFact, while Biden was fact-checked less. Finally, the next debate is the vice presidential debate on October 7th from 9 to 10:30 p.m. With a helpful guide from NPR, written by Barbara Sprunt and published the day before the debate, we can see some of the details. It'll be held at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City and monitored by Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief of USA Today. Speaking of the debate's divisions, Brent said, the debate will be divided into 9 10-minute sections. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to the opening question in each segment. With the background of Pence and Harris being attorneys, we'll have to hope that their debate goes better than the last.